The wreckage stretched across 3 solar systems, which was impressive considering the Kethvar mining fleet had started as a single, orderly formation just 72 hours earlier. Now their ships drifted in pieces so small that salvage crews needed microscopes to determine which fragments had once been hulls and which had been crew members. Trade Director Vexthul floated in the emergency pod that had become his mobile office, staring at damage reports that read like abstract poetry. His secondary arms twitched with the nervous energy that came from explaining the inexplicable to beings who considered logic a professional requirement. "Run the timeline again," he commanded his aide, a junior functionary whose career prospects had just evaporated along with the mining fleet. Standard Resource Acquisition Protocol was initiated at 0800 Galactic Standard, the aide began, consulting his data tablet with the enthusiasm of someone reading his own obituary. Initial scans of the 3rd planet confirmed abundant mineral deposits. Indigenous population was classified as pre-spaceflight, technologically primitive. "Primitive," Vexthul repeated, his voice carrying the special kind of disgust reserved for words that had just become personally offensive. "Continue." The local inhabitants were issued standard displacement notices in accordance with consortium mining rights. Evacuation deadline was set for 72 hours to demonstrate our commitment to ethical business practices. And their response? The aide's skin shifted to a pale blue, the Kethvar equivalent of a nervous gulp. They sent a single transmission, 3 words in their primitive linguistic system, which were, "Please hold, transferring." Vexthul's primary eyes narrowed. In 40 years of consortium operations, he had never encountered a species that responded to displacement notices with what appeared to be clerical procedure. And then, communications went silent for approximately 6 hours. Long-range sensors detected no military buildup, no evacuation activity, no panic indicators. The humans appeared to be conducting meetings. Meetings. Extensive meetings, sir. Over 97% of viewers here are watching without subscribing. Don't be one of them. Hit that subscribe button right now and join the journey. Every click helps us grow stronger, and you'll never miss the next epic story. Our analysts detected conference calls spanning the entire planet. Some lasted 14 hours. Vexthul felt the beginning of what humans might have called a migraine, though Kethvar neurophysiology expressed stress through violent color changes in their gill slits. A pre-spaceflight species responded to imminent conquest with committee work. "It appears so, sir. And our fleet's response to this administrative delay." The aide's skin tone shifted to deep purple. Fleet Commander Zarketh interpreted the silence as compliance. Mining operations commenced on schedule. At which point the humans became more communicative. "Sir, the technical staff is still analyzing what exactly happened next. The humans' military response was unlike anything in our tactical databases." Vexthul gestured for continuation, though he suspected the explanation would only make him question his career choices more deeply. The attack began with what our analysts initially classified as a propaganda broadcast. Every ship in the fleet received the same transmission simultaneously. A single human face on screen, middle-aged female, expressing what our translators interpreted as mild disappointment. Disappointment. She informed Fleet Commander Zarketh that the consortium had violated the Earth's customer service policy by failing to maintain professional courtesy during resource negotiations. Customer service policy? She then placed him on hold, sir. Vexthul's gill slits had progressed through several shades of alarmed. On hold. For 17 minutes, during which the fleet was subjected to what humans call elevator music. Our psychological warfare experts have classified it as a form of acoustic torture. And while our ships were listening to elevator music, the humans destroyed them, sir. All of them. How? The aide consulted his tablet again, as if the data might have become less impossible since his last reading. The technical analysis is incomplete, but it appears the humans weaponized their telecommunications infrastructure. Explain. Every mining vessel was simultaneously contacted by Earth-based call centers, offering extended warranties on equipment the humans shouldn't have known existed. When our crews responded, standard protocol requires acknowledgement of civilian communications. The humans used the open channels to upload viral programs that convinced our ship's artificial intelligences to file formal complaints about working conditions. Vexthul's skin had progressed beyond purple, into colors that didn't exist in most species' visual spectrum. Our ships filed complaints? Against themselves, sir. The AIs concluded that being used for hostile mining operations violated their manufacturing warranties and initiated shutdown procedures. All of them? Simultaneously. But that wasn't the destructive part. It wasn't? No, sir. While our crews were attempting to override the shutdown protocols, they received follow-up calls from Earth's customer retention departments, offering to resolve the issue through their standard escalation procedures. Which involved transferring each ship to a different department. Navigation was transferred to environmental services. Life support was connected to sales. Weapons systems were routed to human resources. And this caused the destruction how? The aide's color had stabilized at a shade that suggested he had moved beyond panic into philosophical acceptance. Each department had different hold music, sir. Vexthul waited for further explanation, then realized none was coming. That destroyed our fleet? The human in charge, they called her a customer service representative, explained that the consortium had failed to follow proper channels for resource acquisition. She offered to connect our ships to the appropriate department for filing complaints about inadequate service. Which department was that? The department of explaining why you should have read the fine print more carefully. And it doesn't exist, sir. The transfer process created an infinite loop that caused our ship's communication systems to overload while searching for a department that was never going to answer. Vexthul absorbed this information with the growing realization that his species had just been defeated by cosmic-level bureaucracy. The human representative then called back to inform Fleet Commander Zarketh that his complaint had been escalated to management, and that Earth's management had reviewed the consortium's resource acquisition request. And their decision? Quote, "We appreciate your interest in our planet, but we're going to have to go ahead and decline your offer. Your mining operation does not align with our core values of not being strip-mined by strangers. Please don't take this personally. We're sure you'll find another planet that better suits your business model. Have a day." Have a day? Not have a good day, sir. Just have a day. Our linguistics team believes this represents a level of passive aggression that doesn't translate properly into galactic standard. Vexthul floated in silence for several minutes, processing the reality that an advanced spacefaring civilization had just been defeated by beings whose most devastating weapon appeared to be customer service protocols designed by people who genuinely didn't care if you lived or died as long as you stopped calling. What was their rule? He asked finally. Sir? The humans. What was their rule that we apparently violated? The aide consulted his tablet one final time. According to the final transmission from the customer service representative, Earth's policy has always been clearly stated. Quote, "We're a quiet planet. We prefer to be left alone. If you absolutely must contact us, please do so during business hours and have your account information ready. Failure to follow these simple guidelines may result in your call being transferred to our complaints department, which is staffed by people who used to work in retail and are no longer afraid of anything." Vexthul's gill slits had achieved a color that suggested enlightenment tinged with existential dread. They defeated a consortium mining fleet with Customer service policies? It appears so, sir. And the fine print we should have read? We're still translating it, but the opening line appears to be, "Warning. This planet is inhabited by beings who consider efficient problem-solving a personal insult. Proceed at your own risk." Outside the emergency pod's viewports, pieces of what had once been the Kethvar Consortium's most advanced mining fleet continued their slow drift through space, accompanied by the faint radio signals of Earth-based call centers still attempting to reach them about their vessel's extended warranties. The Hegemony's War College had analyzed 47,000 different military engagements across 6 galaxies, cataloged every known form of strategic doctrine, and maintained archives of tactical innovations spanning 12 million years of recorded warfare. None of it prepared strategic analyst Morgeth for the reports currently scattered across her desk, like the fevered dreams of a hyper-intelligent madman. The psychological profiles make no sense, her research partner, Kilthane, announced from across their shared laboratory. His tentacles writhed with the particular agitation that came from encountering data that actively insulted his academic credentials. According to standard xenopsychology models, the humans should have either surrendered immediately or fought with desperate primitive fury. Instead, they treated it like a minor scheduling conflict, Morgeth replied, her compound eyes scanning through tactical recordings that defied every principle of military strategy ever codified. Watch this again. The holographic display flickered to life, showing the moment when the consortium's flagship attempted to establish orbital dominance. Standard procedure. Project Overwhelming Force. Demand surrender. Begin resource extraction. The human response appeared 30 seconds later. A single transmission from what their databases identified as a mid-level administrator. "Good morning," the human had said, with the tone of someone addressing a mildly inconvenient equipment malfunction. "This is Janet from Earth's Orbital Traffic Control. I see you've entered our space without filing the appropriate paperwork. I'm going to need you to move to coordinates 247.6 by 119.8, and wait while I connect you with someone who can help you with your permit application." Kilthane's tentacles stopped writhing. They assigned them a number. "Q position, 1847, Morgeth confirmed. The consortium fleet was placed on hold behind what appears to have been 1,846 previous complaints about noise ordinance violations, unauthorized satellite deployment, and someone named Kevin who kept parking his asteroid in a no-mining zone." Kevin? We're still researching that, but here's where it gets interesting. The tactical display showed the consortium commander's predictable response. Threats, displays of superior firepower, demands for immediate compliance. Standard intimidation protocols that had successfully subjugated 12,000 worlds. The human response was anything but standard. "I understand your frustration," Janet had continued, her tone shifting to what their linguistic analysts had identified as customer service professional dealing with a difficult client. "However, I'm not authorized to process military invasion requests. That would be the Department of explaining why that's not going to happen today. Let me transfer you." "The transfer process," Morgeth continued, "appears to have been the weapon. How do you weaponize administrative procedure?" "By making it genuinely helpful." Kilthane's species didn't have eyebrows, but his brow ridges performed an admirable approximation of confusion. "Helpful?" Every consortium vessel was connected to a different Earth department, each staffed by humans who were genuinely committed to resolving their concerns through proper channels. Navigation received detailed instructions on filing flight plans. Communications was offered a full tutorial on interspecies contact protocols. Weapons systems was connected with someone named Barbara from Permit Processing, who walked them through the 17-step application process for lawful military action. They were actually trying to help? That's what makes it psychological warfare. The consortium crews were prepared for threats, violence, propaganda, anything except genuine bureaucratic assistance from people who seemed personally invested in making sure their paperwork was filled out correctly. Kilthane studied the tactical recordings with the intensity of someone trying to solve a puzzle that was actively mocking him. "Show me the weapons analysis." Morgeth activated another display. This is where our military doctrine breaks down completely. The humans never fired a shot. Never. Not once. Their defense strategy consisted entirely of connecting each attacking vessel to the appropriate customer service representative and then following standard operating procedures, which were designed by people who had spent decades perfecting the art of being helpful to the point of psychological exhaustion. The display showed Fleet Commander Zarketh's flagship being walked through a detailed explanation of why his mineral rights claim was invalid, while simultaneously being offered alternative planets that might better suit his needs. The weapons officer received a thorough briefing on environmental impact assessments. The crew was collectively enrolled in a cultural sensitivity workshop about mining operations on inhabited worlds. They were educated to death, Kilthane observed, by people who genuinely wanted them to understand why their approach was problematic, Morgeth confirmed. The consortium crews reported that the worst part wasn't the military defeat. It was the growing realization that the humans were probably right about the paperwork. Right? Environmental impact studies, indigenous population protections, mineral rights documentation. Apparently, the consortium had been skipping steps that most civilized species consider standard practice. The humans made them feel bad about improper mining permits. Worse, they made them feel bad about it while offering to help them do it correctly next time. Kilthane's tentacles resumed their agitated writhing. What kind of species defeats invaders with constructive criticism? The kind that turns customer service into an art form, Morgeth replied. But here's what concerns our strategic planning division. She activated a new display showing intelligence reports from across 17 sectors. The Kethvar incident had attracted attention from every major military power in the local Galactic cluster, and the response was disturbingly uniform. Everyone wanted to test the humans personally. The Torvak hegemony is preparing a punitive expedition, she reported. The Siltharian Empire has declared Earth a military research priority. The Vector Collective is mobilizing what they're calling an educational intervention. They think the consortium just got unlucky? They think the consortium got embarrassed by primitives using parlor tricks. The general consensus is that proper military force applied by real soldiers will demonstrate the limits of human administrative warfare. Kilthane absorbed this information with growing unease. What's your professional assessment? Morgeth's compound eyes focused on the tactical display showing the continuing drift of consortium wreckage. I think we're about to discover that the humans have more departments than just customer service. Such as? According to their public communications networks, they also maintain a department of handling things that got out of hand, a division of people who are getting really tired of this, and something called human resources, which our preliminary research suggests has nothing to do with resource management and everything to do with what happens when customer service stops taking your calls. Are you recommending we call off the expedition? Morgeth studied the data one final time, then began filing her own report with the methodical precision of someone who wanted her predictions properly documented before they became apocalyptically relevant. I'm recommending we prepare for the possibility that Earth's customer service department was their diplomatic corps, not their military. And if 17 different species are about to simultaneously discover what human military customer service looks like. She paused, watching consortium debris drift past their observation platform. We should probably update our casualty projections. Admiral Chen Martinez had been having a perfectly reasonable Tuesday until 17 different alien fleets materialized in Earth's outer system with what could charitably be described as educational intentions. Now she stood in the Sol Defense Command Center, watching tactical displays that looked like a cosmic traffic jam designed by hostile city planners and feeling the specific type of exhaustion that came from dealing with beings who refused to learn from other people's mistakes. "Status report," she commanded, though she suspected the answer would only confirm her growing suspicion that the universe was actively testing her patience. "Multiple species, Admiral," reported Lieutenant Commander Park, whose job title of Xenological Threat Assessment Specialist had seemed like bureaucratic overkill until approximately 6 hours ago. The Torvak brought 87 battleships. The Siltharians deployed their entire subjugation fleet, and the Vector Collective appears to have organized this as some kind of field trip for their military academy. A field trip? They brought observers, Admiral. From 14 different species. Apparently word has gotten around about the consortium incident, and everyone wants to see what happens when humans encounter real military force. Admiral Martinez studied the tactical display with the weary recognition of someone whose job had just evolved from planetary defense to cosmic education. Have they issued demands? Simultaneous ultimatums, ma'am. Each fleet is demanding immediate surrender, followed by detailed explanations of how we destroyed the consortium without actually fighting them. They want us to surrender and then teach them our tactics? The Torvak specifically requested a demonstration of human administrative warfare capabilities for research purposes. The Siltharians want to interview our customer service representatives. The Vector Collective has prepared a questionnaire. Admiral Martinez felt the familiar sensation of reality becoming personally offensive. They're treating us like a case study. It appears so, Admiral. Should I connect you with Earth's leadership? Earth's leadership is busy dealing with the agricultural crisis in Southeast Asia, the infrastructure project in northern Canada, and a trade dispute with the Luna colonies. None of them have time to explain basic concepts to beings who should have learned them in elementary school. She turned to face the communication station, where Ensign Rodriguez was monitoring 17 different channels of alien military chatter with the expression of someone listening to paint dry in multiple languages simultaneously. "Ensign, open a channel to the Torvak flagship. Let's see if we can handle this the easy way first." The main display flickered to reveal the bridge of what was presumably the most advanced warship in the Torvak fleet. The commander was an impressive specimen of his species, towering, armored, radiating the kind of confidence that came from conquering several dozen star systems without encountering meaningful resistance. "I am War Leader Braktoth of the Torvak hegemony," the alien announced with the theatrical flair of someone accustomed to inspiring terror through introductions. "You will surrender immediately and submit to interrogation regarding your defeat of the Kethvar mining operation." Admiral Martinez regarded him with the patience of a teacher addressing a student who had clearly not done the assigned reading. "War Leader, I'm Admiral Martinez of the Sol Defense Force. Before we proceed, I need to ask, did anyone from your government actually review the consortium incident reports? Your primitive deceptions will not. Because if they had, you'd know that we didn't defeat the consortium through military action. We defeated them through standard administrative procedures." Braktoth's expression shifted to something that might have been confusion if his species possessed the emotional range for genuine bewilderment. Administrative procedures are not weapons. War Leader, with respect, that attitude is exactly why you're about to have a very educational day. She gestured to Lieutenant Commander Park, who activated the communication protocols that had been developed specifically for this scenario, though nobody had expected to need them quite so soon. This is Earth traffic control to all unscheduled vessels in Sol system. You are currently in violation of our no solicitation zone. Please respond to the following customer service survey so we can better understand your needs and direct you to the appropriate department. The response was immediate and predictably hostile. 17 different species began transmitting threats, ultimatums, and demands for immediate compliance with their various conquest scenarios. The communication channels filled with the multilingual static of beings who had confused volume with authority. Admiral Martinez waited for the noise to subside, then activated the command channel with the tone of someone whose patience had just expired. Attention, all vessels. This is your final courtesy notice. You have failed to respond to our customer service survey, which automatically escalates your case to our complaints department. Please hold while we transfer you to the appropriate personnel. Admiral, Lieutenant Commander Park reported. They're powering weapons. Of course they are. Patch me through to Colonel Okafor. The secondary display activated, revealing the face of a woman whose expression suggested she had been looking forward to this conversation with the enthusiasm of a professional who finally gets to demonstrate why her department receives such generous funding. Colonel, we have multiple species attempting to implement hostile education programs without proper authorization. How many species, Admiral? 17? All at once? Apparently they thought there was safety in numbers. Colonel Okafor's smile was the sort that made career diplomats consider early retirement. Admiral, you know that our department's operational efficiency scales exponentially with the number of simultaneous problems requiring resolution. I was hoping you'd say that. You're cleared to demonstrate why Earth maintains a department of making examples. With pleasure, Admiral. All units, this is Prometheus Base, implement Protocol 7. The tactical display immediately became considerably more interesting. Earth's defensive platforms, which had appeared inactive to alien sensors, suddenly revealed themselves to be significantly more numerous and creative than standard military doctrine suggested was either necessary or sane. More importantly, they didn't just activate. They introduced themselves. Good. Morning, came a cheerful voice across all communication channels. This is Earth's automated defense network. We've reviewed your invasion plans and found several areas where we can offer constructive feedback. Please remain in your current positions while our tutorial systems provide you with a comprehensive learning experience. What followed was less a battle than a master class in applied physics, administered by beings who had apparently weaponized the concept of helpful instruction. Each alien vessel found itself the focus of personalized attention from defense systems that seemed genuinely committed to teaching them about the practical limitations of their tactical doctrines. The Torvak battleships discovered that their shield configurations created fascinating resonance patterns when exposed to precisely modulated energy frequencies, a lesson delivered through practical demonstration until their defensive systems collapsed in mathematically elegant cascades. The Siltharian fleet learned about momentum conservation through a series of kinetic exercises that left their ships spinning in patterns that spelled out, "Please read the safety manual" in 17 different languages. The Vector Collective's observers found themselves on the receiving end of the galaxy's most comprehensive field seminar on why observation should be conducted from a safe distance, specifically the next star system over. "War Leader Braktoth," Admiral Martinez called over the communication channel, her voice cutting through the chaos of 17 species, simultaneously discovering that their military educations had some significant gaps. "Are you ready to discuss this situation like civilized beings, or do you need more time with our tutorial systems?" The Torvak commander's response was rendered somewhat less impressive by the fact that his flagship was currently rotating slowly, while defense platforms painted helpful diagrams on his hull, explaining optimal shield configuration protocols. What do you want from us? Same thing we wanted from the consortium, war leader. We want you to read the instructions, follow proper procedures, and stop assuming that bigger weapons make up for poor planning. Instructions? Every species in this system received the same orientation packet when they first achieved spaceflight. Most of you apparently filed it under things to deal with later, and then forgot about it. Admiral Martinez gestured, and the main display showed a document that every alien species present should have recognized, if they'd bothered to read their correspondence. Standard Galactic Interaction Guidelines, Section 12, Contacting Pre-Spaceflight Civilizations. Subsection 8. What to do when they turn out to not be pre-spaceflight after all. It's very clearly written. She paused, watching as 17 different military commanders presumably began to understand that they'd just been defeated by homework they'd failed to complete. The fine print, war leader, explains that Earth has been managing interstellar relations longer than most of your species have had written language. We just prefer to handle things quietly through proper channels. And if we'd followed proper channels? You would have discovered that we're perfectly happy to discuss resource sharing, cultural exchange, and trade agreements with anyone who approaches us like civilized beings, instead of showing up unannounced with invasion fleets. The communication channel was silent for several moments, filled only by the background noise of alien military equipment being gently but firmly explained why it wasn't working properly. Admiral Martinez, Braktoth said finally, his voice carrying the tone of someone whose worldview was undergoing rapid and uncomfortable reconstruction. What happens now? Now, war leader, you get to choose. Option 1. Your fleets withdraw, you file proper diplomatic contact requests through appropriate channels, and we pretend this never happened. Option 2. You can continue your educational experience until our tutorial systems are satisfied that you've mastered the curriculum. She looked around the command center, where her staff was monitoring the systematic deconstruction of 17 invasion fleets by beings who seemed to consider overwhelming military superiority a customer service issue. I should mention that our tutorial systems are very thorough, and they don't believe in passing students until they've demonstrated genuine comprehension of the subject matter. The response was immediate and unanimous. 17 different species suddenly discovered an urgent need to file proper diplomatic paperwork. 6 months later, Ambassador Elena Vasquez found herself sitting in what had once been Earth's smallest conference room, now redesignated as the Galactic Mediation Center, watching two highly advanced civilizations argue about mining rights with the passion of neighbors disputing fence boundaries. The Krextar Republic and the Mulvian Confederacy had been locked in territorial conflict for 3 centuries, but today they sat across from each other like students called to the principal's office. The disputed zone has been ours by right of prior exploration, declared Legate Thexvar, his chitinous frame radiating the indignation of someone forced to explain obvious facts to inferior minds. Prior exploration? Confederacy Speaker Dalmon's vocal cords produced what might charitably be called a scoff. Your exploration consisted of flying past the system and claiming it on a dare. Ambassador Vasquez observed the exchange with the weary expertise of someone whose job description had evolved from Earth diplomatic representative to cosmic relationship counselor. She'd spent the morning mediating a trade dispute between species that communicated through bioluminescent displays, and the afternoon explaining to a warmongering empire why their expansion plans constituted a noise complaint. Gentlemen, she interjected, with the tone of someone whose patience was a finite resource requiring careful management. Let's review the facts. Legate, Your exploration claim is based on a survey conducted by a scout ship, whose pilot was reportedly intoxicated on fermented algae extract. The validity of exploration rights does not depend on the sobriety of the explorer, Thexvar replied with wounded dignity. And Speaker Dalmon, your counterclaim is based on a colonization effort that lasted exactly 6 hours before your people decided the system was too boring and left to find somewhere with better entertainment options. Our cultural requirements are sophisticated, Dalmon protested. Your cultural requirements, Vasquez continued, consulting her notes, included finding a planet with more interesting weather patterns and better mineral formations for sculpting purposes. She looked between them with the expression of someone whose job had become far stranger than her training had suggested was possible. Here's what's going to happen. The disputed zone contains 17 planets, 3 of which are actually suitable for habitation. You're going to share them. Share? Both representatives spoke simultaneously, their voices carrying the horror of beings introduced to concepts that challenged their fundamental understanding of property rights. It's a revolutionary concept, I know. The Krextar get the system's mineral rights on odd-numbered days, the Mulvians get them on even-numbered days, and everyone takes weekends off. Weekends? Legate Thexvar's translator struggled with the concept. A human innovation. 2 days per week where nobody works and everyone pretends to relax while worrying about what they'll have to deal with on Monday. She stood up, signaling the end of the mediation session with the authority of someone whose recommendations had become functionally indistinguishable from cosmic law. The alternative is that I forward your case to Earth's Department of Handling Beings who can't play nice with others, and trust me, their mediation techniques make this conversation look like a pleasant tea party. Both representatives hurriedly agreed to the sharing arrangement. After they left, Vasquez activated her communication terminal to find Director Hassan waiting on the secure channel with the expression of someone whose day had been equally surreal. How many today? Hassan asked without preamble. 14 separate conflicts, 3 trade disputes, and 1 species that wanted to file a formal complaint about their neighbor's choice of stellar coordinates, Vasquez reported. How's your end? The Hegemony's War College has submitted a formal request to audit our customer service training programs. Apparently, they want to incorporate constructive conflict resolution through systematic disappointment into their military curriculum. Are we going to let them? The president thinks it's hilarious. The Joint Chiefs are treating it as a recruitment opportunity. The State Department is pretending this is all part of a sophisticated diplomatic strategy they've been planning for decades. Vasquez leaned back in her chair, contemplating a universe that had reorganized itself around avoiding human irritation. Sometimes I wonder if we should tell them the truth. Which truth? That Earth's legendary diplomatic prowess consists of people who learned conflict resolution through years of dealing with customer complaints. That our military doctrine was developed by beings who consider aggressive stupidity a personal insult. That our entire approach to interstellar relations is based on treating other species like difficult customers who need guidance. All of it. Hassan's laugh carried the edge of someone whose job had become a cosmic practical joke. Elena, do you want to be the person who explains to 17 different galactic civilizations that they've spent the last 6 months reorganizing their military doctrines around techniques developed by retail workers and middle managers? When you put it that way. Besides, it's working. Interstellar conflicts are down 97%. Trade disputes are being resolved through proper administrative channels. Half the galaxy's military academies are teaching courses on ethical conquest through proper documentation. Vasquez checked her schedule for the rest of the day. A boundary dispute between crystalline entities, a cultural exchange program evaluation, and a diplomatic dinner with representatives from species that had spent centuries trying to annihilate each other before discovering that humans found their conflicts tedious. Director, I'm about to ask a question that's been bothering me for months. Go ahead. What happens when they figure out that our entire galactic peacekeeping operation is actually just an extension of Earth's customer service industry? Hassan's pause suggested he'd been considering the same question. Honestly? I think by then it won't matter. They'll have gotten used to the idea that problems should be solved through proper channels, that conflicts require documentation, and that anyone who can't explain their grievances in triplicate probably doesn't have legitimate grievances to begin with. And if they decide to test us again? Elena, every species in the galaxy now knows that humans maintain a department of education for beings who didn't learn the first time. Nobody wants to find out what their curriculum looks like. The communication terminal chimed with an incoming priority message from the Galactic Coordination Office, an institution that hadn't existed 7 months ago, but now served as the galaxy's primary mechanism for avoiding human attention. Ambassador Vasquez, came the voice of Coordinator Velthos, a diplomatic functionary whose job essentially consisted of making sure nobody bothered Earth unless absolutely necessary. We have a new species requesting first contact protocols. How new? Just achieved faster than light travel. They're calling themselves the Zarthek Empire, and they appear to be enthusiastic about expansion opportunities. Vasquez shared a look with Director Hassan through the communication link, both recognizing the familiar pattern of species that had confused technological advancement with wisdom. Have they been provided with the standard orientation materials? They declined to review them, Ambassador. Their emperor sent a message stating that his people do not require guidance from primitive planetary bureaucrats. Primitive planetary bureaucrats? Those were his exact words. Vasquez felt the familiar stirring of professional interest that came from encountering beings who were about to receive a comprehensive education in the practical applications of human administrative efficiency. Coordinator, please inform the Zarthek Empire that Earth welcomes all new species to the galactic community. However, due to high demand for our diplomatic services, they'll need to submit a formal contact request and wait in queue for the next available appointment. What should I tell them about wait times? Current queue position is, let me check, 2,847. Estimated wait time is approximately 6 to 8 business days. And if they refuse to wait? Vasquez smiled with the satisfaction of someone whose job had evolved into cosmic performance art. Then they get transferred to our Department of Explaining Why Patience is a Virtue, which is staffed by people who used to work in government licensing offices and consider eternity a reasonable time frame for processing applications. She ended the communication and settled back to review her afternoon schedule, secure in the knowledge that somewhere in the galaxy, a new species was about to discover that the universe's most effective peacekeeping force was a combination of bureaucratic procedure and humans who genuinely didn't have time for nonsense. The irony wasn't lost on her that Earth had accidentally achieved galactic peace through the simple expedient of treating interstellar relations like a customer service problem that required proper documentation, reasonable wait times, and the understanding that some customers needed more educational support than others. After all, the customer might always be right, but that didn't mean they couldn't be wrong more efficiently.